It was just supposed to be a chill Friday night. I'd babysat for the Parkers 3 times already. Super easy gig. 8-year-old girl named Lacey, quiet kid, always clung to her stuffed owl. Parents were going to late dinner and said they'd be back by 11. The house was modern, clean, and way too big for 3 people. I remember the mom laughing as she gave me the usual rundown. Emergency numbers on the fridge, snacks in the pantry, and Lacey might talk about monsters again. Just humor her. I smiled and nodded. Pretty normal. At around 7:30, Lacey came downstairs in her onesie, holding the owl tight to her chest. "Can I sleep on the couch tonight?" I asked why, and she just looked at the stairs and whispered, "He's back under the bed." Now, I'm not a total skeptic. I was a kid once. I had irrational fears, but something about the way she said it, completely serious, her face pale, made me uneasy. I told her I'd go check her room. The upstairs hallway was too quiet, the kind that amplifies the sound of your own footsteps. Lacey's room was at the end of the hall. Pink walls, nightlight on, nothing unusual. I even checked under the bed, half jokingly, expecting dust bunnies and maybe a missing sock. Empty. I called down to her. All clear, but she didn't come up. So I let her sleep on the couch and figured it wasn't worth forcing it. Around 9:15, I was halfway through a show when I heard it. A faint thud from upstairs. It wasn't loud, but it wasn't nothing. I paused the TV. Lacey looked at me, eyes wide. "He's mad," she said. I laughed a little to shake it off. "It's just the house settling." But she didn't laugh. I told her to stay put and went upstairs again. Every light on. This time I checked all the rooms. Nothing. Until I got to Lacey's again. That's when I saw it. The closet door was slightly open, and I know I had closed it earlier. I stood there listening. Nothing. But something made my heart beat faster, like my body knew something I didn't. I walked over, pulled it open quickly. Again, nothing. Just clothes, toys. But for a split second, I felt watched. Like something had just ducked away, milliseconds before I opened the door. I went back down, tried not to show any of this to Lacey. I figured maybe the kid was just messing with me. But at 10:02, something happened that changed everything. Lacey sat up on the couch and whispered, "He's not under my bed anymore." I didn't get it at first, until she pointed to the ceiling. Right above us was the master bedroom, her parents' room, and then another thud, louder this time, directly above. My heart jumped into my throat. I grabbed Lacey, and we stayed on the couch, completely still. I texted Mrs. Parker, "Hey, are you almost home? I think I heard something upstairs." No reply. The thumping continued. Not footsteps exactly, more like something being dragged. I didn't want to go check, but I had to. Lacey's small hand squeezed mine tight as I told her to hide behind the kitchen island and not move. I tiptoed up the stairs. The hallway now felt like a tunnel, narrowing with every step. The master bedroom door was slightly open. No lights on inside. I pushed the door slowly. The room was pitch dark, curtains swaying like someone had left a window open. But all the windows were shut when I arrived. I reached for the light switch and froze because I heard something breathing. Heavy, slow, wet breaths. Not mine. From a far side of the bed. I didn't turn on the light. I just backed out slowly and closed the door. I grabbed Lacey, told her we were leaving, and bolted out the front door. We waited on the front porch until her parents came back at 10:48. Her mom looked annoyed until she saw my face. I told her what I heard. She laughed nervously and said it was probably the wind or the pipes. But here's the thing. When Mr. Parker went to check the bedroom, he called for his wife. His voice didn't sound annoyed anymore. The closet was open, and there were 2 things that didn't belong. The closet light was on, even though they said they never used it. There was a piece of duct tape, old, crusted, stuck to the inside wall, right where the back panel met the floorboards, as if something had once been taped shut and had since been ripped open. The Parkers didn't call me again, and I didn't ask. But sometimes, when I'm alone at night, I think about Lacey's voice. He's not under my bed anymore. They never followed up with me. Not a call, not a text. For a few weeks, I kept checking my phone, half expecting the Parkers to explain what happened that night. But it was like they wanted to forget it ever happened. I didn't forget. A couple of nights after that, I found myself lying awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd hear it again. That slow, labored breathing coming from the dark. I told my mom about it eventually, just the part about the noises. She said it was probably stress, Or maybe the house was old and made weird sounds. But it didn't feel like stress. It felt like I had looked at something I wasn't supposed to see. 3 weeks later, I saw something that made my stomach flip. It was a Sunday afternoon. I was picking up some snacks from the corner store when I saw Mrs. Parker. She was at the checkout counter alone. No husband, no Lacey. She looked tired, paler than usual, a bit jittery. I walked up to say hi. She froze when she saw me. Then she smiled, but it was forced. "Hey," I said. "Haven't seen you around. How's Lacey?" There was this pause, like she had to remember how to answer. She's fine," she said, then looked at her phone. "Gotta run." She paid and rushed out so fast, she left the bag behind. I picked it up and looked inside. Just some snacks and a flashlight. But I noticed something strange. There was a tiny pack of those heavy-duty metal door stoppers. The kind people use to keep a door shut, not open. It felt weird enough that I decided to walk past their house later that evening. I didn't go to the door or anything, just walked by like I was passing through the neighborhood. Their curtains were drawn, every single one, lights off. But one thing stood out. Every upstairs window had duct tape across the inside edges. Not like they were sealing for weather, like someone was trying to keep something in. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the closet, about the tape I saw on the inside wall, and that breathing. It didn't feel supernatural. It felt human, like someone had been living there. I did something the next day I probably shouldn't have. I made a throwaway Reddit account and posted a vague story about a babysitting experience where I suspected someone had been hiding in the house. I left out names, places, just a general outline, looking for thoughts. A user replied, "Check for crawl space access points. In older homes, closets sometimes connect to attics or behind wall crawlways. You'd be surprised how many squatters live inside people's homes undetected." That word hit me like a brick, squatters. I spent hours reading similar stories. People finding out months later that someone had been sneaking in through attic vents or living in their walls. A few even talked about finding bedding, clothes, trash behind drywall. I had no more. So one afternoon, I went to the public records office and looked up the Parker's property. It was built in the 90s, not that old. But the previous owner? A man named Robert Kessler. I Googled the name. Turns out, Kessler was arrested in 2013 for breaking and entering into his own former home. He had lost it in a messy divorce. His ex-wife moved out, sold it. The Parkers bought a year later. But Kessler kept coming back. Multiple reports of him being caught sneaking into the attic. Eventually, they arrested him after finding a sleeping bag and food wrappers in the air vents. The kicker? He had never been convicted. He claimed it was just a place he felt safe. Guess what address he kept putting down in all his court forms? The Parker's house. I didn't know what to do with this information. It had been years since his last reported break-in, and I couldn't just walk up to the Parkers and say, "Hey, did you know a mentally unstable guy used to live in your vents?" I thought about warning them anonymously, but before I could even decide, something else happened. I got a call from an unknown number. I don't usually pick those up, but something told me to. It was Lacey. Her voice was low, quiet, almost like she was whispering into the phone. "Can you come get me?" My heart dropped. "Lacey, where are you?" There was a pause, then, "He's in the ceiling now." The call ended. I tried calling back. Nothing. Straight to voicemail. I drove to their house. No lights. No cars in the driveway. I banged on the door. No answer. I called the cops. Told them a child had called me and said she was in danger. When they arrived, they had to break the door in. The house was empty. Furniture still there. Lights still working. But the place had this eerie stillness, like no one had lived there in days. The strangest part? Inside Lacey's room, the bed had been moved, pushed up against the closet, and next to the closet door, there were 4 heavy-duty metal door stoppers, just sitting there on the carpet, like someone had tried to trap something inside, or keep it from coming out. No sign of the family. They were never reported missing. No news stories. Their social media accounts, all deleted, like they just vanished. I've never heard from them again. Sometimes, I still check under my bed before I sleep. Not because I think there's a monster, because monsters aren't under the bed. They're in the walls. They're in the ceilings. And sometimes, they're just standing there, quietly watching, waiting for the night you